has called on Hamas to release all remaining Israeli hostages now in what he is saying is their last warning. Posting on the social media site Truth Social, he said, "Release the hostages now or there will be hell to pay later." Well, it comes after the White House said US officials have engaged in ongoing talks and discussions with Hamas officials. Well, joining me now to talk more about this is Laura Blumenfeld, who is a Middle East analyst and former senior policy advisor on the State Department's Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team. Laura, thank you very much for talking to us. I mean, this is a bold, a rather unconventional move by Donald Trump. Why is he taking this approach, do you think?
Well, look, it's America first, and these are Americans first, as the White House press secretary said. This approach is in the best interest of the American people. There's one living American hostage and 4 dead ones who he's trying to set free. Eden Alexander, he was 19 years old when he was taken captive. He's 21 now. He's from Tenafly, New Jersey. I think the second reason, as Secretary of State Rubio put it, is that the president has lost patience. You know, he is a leader radiating with impatience, and so he's taking an unconventional approach. We see that with Ukraine, sort of ditching traditional allies and reaching out to potentially hostile ones. And the same can be true with negotiations with Iran. There are now reports that he's going to have Putin potentially work as a mediator on that issue. So it's all part of the big picture. Trump as the disruptor, but perhaps we'll get to a better place. Fingers crossed.
We'll go to that in just a moment, but we talk about this complete change of stance, and this is a huge pivot away, isn't it? The White House now moving away from this long-held policy of never directly engaging with terrorists or militant groups. I mean, this is quite something. We keep using the word extraordinary, don't we, in what we have seen in the last few weeks, the last couple of months, but the last few days in particular.
Well, it's personally shocking. I mean, I've been to Gaza. I've sat down with both the founders and the leadership of Hamas. I know how kind of harrowing it is to hear their true positions. They're cold-blooded. But then that was when I was a journalist. When I moved over to the State Department, I worked under President Obama. A chill would go through the room if you would even mention the idea of engaging with Hamas. It's a complete break of taboo. And as one former Biden administration official put it, Biden would have been crucified if he had made such a bold move. Only Trump could do it because he thinks that, he's got the cards and he's playing them.
I mean, yeah, that is a term that he likes to use quite a lot, doesn't he? He talks about having all the cards. What precedent does this set?
Well, it sets an interesting precedent of trying to be creative to break roadblocks. I mean, Netanyahu is kind of stuck here. He is not pleased behind the scenes. He puts a lot of pressure on him, but he's stuck by saying there has to be a complete defeat of Hamas while liberating the hostages. If he could have done that, he would have, right? Military pressure actually hasn't worked. So, it is a precedent for maybe thinking outside of the box. Is he out of his mind? We'll have to see. There's more nuance, though, than might appear with his tweet. President Trump said that, out to the leadership of Hamas, if you agree to our terms, you will have safe passage. If you read between the lines, he's saying, get out of Gaza while you can. So that's an interesting point we should note for the leadership. And then for the people of Gaza, he said to them, there's a, quote, beautiful life ahead of you, but if you're holding hostages, you are all caps dead. Again, he's addressing something that's very hard for Netanyahu to address, which is a future for Gaza, which might be more positive. And the second point is that it is true that not a single hostage has been given up by the Palestinian people living in Gaza. Netanyahu offered $5 million per hostage who would be, given up and set free. And not a single civilian stepped forward and said, I know where you have a hostage hiding and I can help set them free.
I mean, Laura, we talk about this this overarching idea, this ideal that it is about America first, and it's what's in the best interests of America, but also the world. But we have to look at this and think, what Trump has done here. Is this approach really going to help move peace talks along, given the fragile state of them already and the ceasefire, or in fact, is it going to prove to be incendiary and not help things at all?
Well, it's risky and dangerous business to meet with President Trump, right? If we're heads of state, we've seen this parade. We saw, President Zelensky with one arch of an eyebrow lost all aid. So the stakes couldn't be higher. I think it's a time of tremendous fear and uncertainty. And a lot of Americans are looking at themselves and can't quite believe it, asking themselves, are we, the people we've always thought that we represent in the world? Tremendous shifts. And if we can get some hostages out, this is an issue that is perhaps number one priority in terms of foreign policy with the administration because it helps Trump look like the hero he wants to be.
Yeah, it would make Donald Trump certainly appear to be getting the job done and getting it done effectively and quickly. What happens if Hamas does not comply? What happens then when President Trump says there will be hell to pay? What does he mean?
Well, what he means is there will be consequences. Hamas has called them out. Last time, Trump set a high new deadline, that was a week ago, on a Saturday, saying release the hostages or else. And Hamas said, your words are empty, they have no meaning. And that's true. If there are no consequences, America loses its leverage in the region and perhaps the world. I think what it actually means, though, is he's using Netanyahu and Israel as almost the enforcement arm of the United States diplomacy. The same could be said for Iran as well, that he'll sort of unleash the Israelis because clearly they have no trouble pulling the trigger.
And finally, Laura, the time frame. Do we have a time frame? When is he expecting something to happen to come from this statement?
Well, we have Special Envoy Witkoff in the region, who's also working on those indirect negotiations with Qatar and Egypt on a phase two. So I think that logistically, it will take the Israelis about a week or two to gear up for a full kind of, strikes on Gaza back to war. So we have a little bit of a window now, and that's what Trump is trying to take advantage of. And we're all just holding our breath.
All right, Laura Blumenfeld, thank you so much for talking.